Let us try to know about a matriarchal society, a true matriarchal society. We hear of a matrilineal society, but rarely of a matriarchal, a true and complete matriarchal society where, from means of production to administration and governance, everything is under the control of women. Such a society is still existing in United States, although they have been marginalized and their total population in both US and Canada may be around 1 lakh. So before the arrival of Europeans into North America, which eventually became Canada and United States, there were Red Indians. Amongst those Red Indians, there were some special tribes which were totally matriarchal. There might have been 100 such matriarchal societies, but six of them, which are also known as Haudenosaunee Confederacy, comprising of six such tribes, Mohawk, or there are five more such tribes. So six of them together are known as Haudenosaunee. Their population has been declining, but again sometimes somehow picking up. But somehow they are managing their population at around 1 lakh in both the countries, US and Canada. They are they are located around the five Great Lakes, Erie, Ontario, Superior, etc. So they lived originally in those Great Lake areas when the Britishers and other Europeans arrived in North America. Why this story is necessary? It is necessary to know for following reason. One, how the true matriarchal societies looked like. And attached to this is, if there is a matriarchal society in future, then what can be its main characteristic and features? So, how a true matriarchy may have looked like. And second is also we need to know how the modern United States was formed after annihilating the Red Indians. So we must know before the arrival of Europeans in North America, the original people had a totally different civilization and culture based on classical matriarchy, where women controlled not only family but economy, politics, governance, state, law, every aspect of law, every aspect of their life. So, how the Nasauni at present comprise of six major tribal groups. They have their local identities, but overall their broader identity is Haudenosaunee. At present, they are located in the areas, in the village areas of New York. The New York was also inhabited by Haudenosaunee. So, where at present there is New York, including that great Statue of Liberty. All these areas once in before 16th centuries, they were all occupied by the Red Indian peoples, the local native people. Let us try to know some special features of Haudenosaunee. How do they control the family? Haudenosaunee literally means the extended homes where only women lived and the men were married at the initiative of women. They had, means men had the secondary role. It was only with the permission of women who lived together, their sisters, their daughters, they all lived together. And according to their initiatives, the men could be given permission inside the homes. But the family was owned by women, and the men were mainly occupied in external activities like hunting and gathering or trapping of animals, etc. Agriculture was under the control of, and therefore, associated activities with agriculture like processing and marketing. It means the value was under the control of women. They lived with women according to the conditions set by women. Women and their councils appointed males as the office bearers with the power to remove them as and when they required. It means the entire political power remained in the hands of Haudenosaunee women. Extreme and complete political power vested in women's. The head of women used to be known as clan mother. Clan mother means the head of one clan was always a woman, and children were always identified in the lineage of women because male could come and go. So paternity was not the foundation of family and society because nobody knew except the women who were the fathers of the children. So they control family, they control economy, they control politics. Women sat almost at a high position of head of state who appointed the ordinary office bearers, and these ordinary office bearers were men with absolute power to remove men from any office, any council vested in women. So this was the complete matriarchy, not only matrilineality, where in matrilineality only the descendants is traced to the grandest women. But here in matriarchy, the all types of powers, social, economic, political, cultural, even the cultural powers like religious power, they determine means women's determine the rituals. They were themselves the priests. They were the priests. They determined the rituals. They performed or led the performance of religious rituals. So now you can see the picture is complete. Social power, economic power, political power, religious power, spiritual power, all powers vested amongst women. When sociologists, American sociologist Henry Morgan studied these societies, then he said that this was a early society, and he tried to explain it in terms of some kind of social backwardness. And he said that all societies in the beginning were like this only, but later on, for the purpose of performing the complex task, when the state was organized, then it was necessary to make family patriarchal. But when later on the American women started movements, suffragette movements, means voting rights movement, then when they came into contact with Haudenosaunee women, then they understood what was lacking in white people's societies, the kind of rights they were struggling for, the women's rights. They came to realize that these rights were already guaranteed, not guaranteed, but the very foundation of the society was based on women's rights. This was the beginning of feminism. When they learned from Haudenosaunee women, this gave birth to feminism. So feminism movement worldwide which is known as white women's and white men's movement, was actually inspired from the contact with Haudenosaunee tribal society, which let them know how the very foundation of society was based on the centrality of the role of women. And this is how the feminism started. And when the Statue of Liberty was being established in New York, then the Haudenosaunee women came and they questioned what kind of liberty statue you are creating. Have you seen how women lived in Haudenosaunee community? They are already enjoying all those rights which you want to establish in the name of democracy. And by establishing democracy, you are killing the native people, Haudenosaunee, and many more such native indigenous communities. They said democracy. They said this as early as 1785 that this American democracy is disaster because the society amongst the native people was already the most genuine democracy, the most genuine equality and liberty. So what was coming in the form of modernism was basically more regressive and more backward than what was already existing. So, for this native people, the democracy was a backwardness, equality, justice, it was all regressive ideas because the people were already enjoying, the societies were already based on those principles. Democracy was more in the opinion and the eye of Haudenosaunee. Democracy was colonialism, it was imperialism, it was not democracy. So what Haudenosaunee realized as early as 18th century, we are still not able to understand democracy is and was and still it continues to be colonialism, a grand colonization agenda, an imperialism. So when we understand the experiences of Haudenosaunee people, then it is not difficult to conclude that democracy was a colonial project. Democracy was a project of colonization of the native people in the name of equality. Rather, it was destruction of equality. It was destruction of democracy. So it is not United States which established democracy. People or federalism, the true federalism, and it is documented that the American Constitution makers borrowed the concept of federalism from the Haudenosaunee communities. They were already federal, so the concept of federalism was borrowed from Haudenosaunee communities, which were organized into a system of federation. All the major branches of Haudenosaunee, they were connected with each other in the form of a federation. So democracy, equality, liberty, and federalism were all borrowed from the Haudenosaunee communities. So it means that United States claiming in 20th century that it is the prophet of democracy, it is based only on the lies and lies. The very foundation of United States was on annihilation of the true and genuine democracy, federalism, equality, and liberty. And that's why the United States that we saw in 20th century was only the extension or evolution of what it did in 18th century, 17th and 18th century to Haudenosaunee people. So we must understand the very foundation of United States has been on the basis of annihilation of the original civilizations, and the democracy which it sought to propagate as a fake democracy. It was only a musket for colonialism and imperialism. The true democracy was in and amongst Haudenosaunee people. So Haudenosaunee are important not only to understand the history of United States but also to understand the future course of society if they are going to be matriarchal societies. In matriarchal society, men would be on the margin and performing secondary role. The families, society, economy, and politics, and most important, religion and culture were all in the hands of and controlled by women. So, Haudenosaunee is past as well as future. We will continue to know some more facts about Haudenosaunee. However, at present in American society, their population is marginal and almost negligible. In United States, it may be maximum around 30, 40,000. But if you visit New York and you ask anyone, where are the Haudenosaunee villages? You must be guided and one must visit. While visiting America, one must try to visit the villages of Haudenosaunee tribes and communities.